Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lyle Russell. I'm going to be your narrator for today's event, and it is my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the City of Tullahoma to our 2024 Veterans Day observance. At this time, I would like to request that all pagers or cell phones be silenced or turned off for the duration of this morning's event. That would be slightly embarrassing. I had to check mine as well, so I appreciate your attention to that. And I would like to request that please do take pictures today as long as the flash is not distracting. And if you do take photos today, we would love to see them. So please share them with us at the City of Tullahoma if you are able to do so. So to begin our program at this time, I would like to invite to the stage Tullahoma Mayor Lynn Seaborn for our opening remarks.
Good morning. Welcome to our Veterans Day observance. We are grateful for your presence here this morning as we set aside some time from our busy lives to stop and express our appreciation for the past, present, and future service of all veterans in the Armed Forces of the United States of America. For our veterans present, the citizens of Tullahoma thank you for your service and dedication. It's fitting that we thank you for your service, but our gratitude as citizens should go beyond mere thank yous. We owe every soldier, sailor, Marine, Coast Guardsman, Airman, and Guardian our support. It should be our goal as Americans that our fighting sons and daughters are the best trained, the best equipped, and the best led forces in the world, and that they receive the welcome and support they deserve when they come home. The City of Tullahoma has a long history of support for our military, from training young soldiers in World War II at Camp Forrest to providing the best air power in the world through the test and evaluation at Arnold Engineering Development Complex. We are proud of the role we have played in your support, and we look forward to continuing that support into the future. It's been my honor to work alongside many veterans in my time here in Tullahoma, both at AEDC and in public and civic organizations. Tullahoma is lucky to have so many veterans active in our city. You bring your skills, your discipline, and your leadership to every part of our community, and we are better for it. Today we will hear from three such veterans in our program: Colonel Pat Egan, United States Air Force retired; Colonel Jim Jolliffe, United States Air Force retired; and Colonel Grant Mizell, Commander of the Arnold Engineering Development Complex, and I look forward to hearing their comments. It was my pleasure Saturday evening to attend the Tullahoma High School Marine ROTC banquet in celebration of the 249th birthday of the Marine Corps. I knew that was going to come from Curtis. Occasionally you will hear people disparage the youth of today, that they are unmotivated or unengaged with our society. They have not witnessed what I witnessed Saturday evening. Young people engaged in their training, serving with respect and eager for the future. You will see this for yourself in just a few moments as the THS Marine Corps ROTC Wildcat Battalion Honor Guard presents the colors. Thank you for your attendance today. May God bless our veterans, and may God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Mayor Seaborn. Now I'd like to ask to please rise, if you're able, for the marching on of the colors by the Tullahoma High School Marine Corps JROTC, and please remain standing for the national anthem performed by the Tullahoma High School Brass Ensemble, led by band directors Justin Scott, Lisa Burden, and Jonathan Johnson. Please again remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance after that, and the explanation of the POW MIA chair, led by American Legion Post 43 Commander Marcus Walden. Now I'd like to invite to the stage Commander Marcus Walden from American Legion Post 43 to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance, and for the POW MIA Chair.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A POW MIA empty chair is placed as a physical symbol of the thousands of American POWs, prisoners of war missing in action, still unaccounted for from all wars and conflicts involving the United States of America. This is a reminder for all of us to spare no effort to secure the release of any American prisoners from captivity, the reparations of the remains of those who died bravely in defense of the liberty, and the full accounting of those missing. Let us rededicate ourselves to this vital endeavor.
And now I'd like to invite Chaplain Nutter to give our invocation.
Before we turn to the Lord our God in prayer, I would ask that you allow me to say just this word on this day. Something that I received yesterday. I have done things that haunt me at night so you can sleep in peace. I have been away from my family a long time so that yours can be safe. I have sacrificed a lot in my life so that you may live free. I have done these things because I have sworn an oath to my country, and I will live by this oath until the day I die, because I am and always will be a United States veteran. Let us pray. Our Father and our God, we turn to you in this hour, mindful of the men and women who have served and who continue to serve this great nation through our armed forces. For the unsung heroes of our nation who have risked or even given their lives for us and for the cause of freedom, we praise you for their courage, their unwavering commitment, and their service. For our veterans gathered here this morning, for our veterans who are lonely, who are displaced in our world today, for those in a VA, in a hospital, a nursing home, tend to them as you have promised, assuring them that you are their good shepherd and great physician, and that you will never leave them nor forsake them. For those who continue to serve, we give you thanks. Bless the men and women who serve within our borders and who are scattered throughout the world. And for those, O Lord, who have lost a loved one, a father, a son, a daughter, that you bind up the brokenhearted with your comfort, with your peace, with your strength, and give to each one of us gathered here today renewed strength, that we may serve you and serve our neighbor as never before. We ask these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you to the brass ensemble, Commander Walden and Reverend Nutter for those words. And now would you please help me welcome to the stage the Tullahoma High School Chamber Singers for a musical performance. Thank you to Mrs. Hines and the Chamber Singers. That was a lovely performance. And it is now my honor to introduce our first speaker today. Colonel Patrick Egan, United States Air Force retired, is from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, where he graduated from Murfreesboro Central High School and then on to University of the South at Sewanee, where he received his ROTC commission upon graduation in 1972. He later earned a Master of Public Administration degree from Texas Christian University. Colonel Egan's duty assignments included Grand Forks Air Force Base in North Dakota, Osan Air Base in Korea, Carswell Air Force Base in Texas, Strategic Air Command Headquarters at Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska, Anderson Air Force Base in Guam, where as commander of the 43rd Services Squadron, led his squadron to be recognized as Best in Strategic Air Command and finalist for Best in Air Force. Norton Air Force Base in California as a lead inspector for the Air Force Inspector General's team, Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama, where Colonel Egan attended the Air Command Staff College. He was then assigned to the Air Force Engineering and Services Center as the Research and Development Lead for Combat Support Innovations, to include human remains identification and Middle East deployment field feeding systems for the Army, Air Force, and Marines. He was then selected to be Chief of the Air Force Food Service Management Program, which included senior leadership of 250 food service dining facility operations worldwide. He was then selected to return to Maxwell, where he attended Air War College. He was then reassigned to Air Combat Command Headquarters to serve as the Director of Services Programs, overseeing all base food service, lodging, child care, and youth programs and recreation and fitness functions for 25 different bases. Upon selection for colonel, he was assigned to perform the same role across the Air Force as the Pentagon's Director of Services Programs to oversee Air Force-wide programs for the same food service, lodging, dormitories, recreation services, and child care and youth programs. In 1995, Colonel Egan was selected to be the commander of the 78th Mission Support Group at Robins Air Force Base. This role was the military equivalent to a civilian city administrator, caring for a population of 25,000 military, civilian, and family members. He led his group to numerous Air Force level awards and recognitions, and leading assigned airmen through pre-deployment field training. For these efforts, he was selected to transfer to Air Force Material Command Headquarters as Director of Services and provided executive leadership for 20 bases combat support and sustainability operations. Finally, Colonel Egan was assigned to AEDC as the Director of Mission Support for Arnold Air Force Base in Tennessee. As such, he returned to an administrator role for the Air Force's premier aerospace ground test and evaluation mission, commanding the critical support roles of police, fire, emergency, medical services, industrial security, logistics, facility maintenance, IT, and recreation and youth services. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Colonel Pat Egan.
I have to check this, it's a little bit taller. Anyway, I'd be remiss if I didn't do something real quick, get through it. That young honor guard, color guard team was phenomenal. The band, chorus, is a veteran band parent. I appreciate what y'all did. So, getting my breath here. Colonel Joff and I have been selected by Lyle to do this today to make Colonel Mizell look taller. Today is a great day. Not only is this a Chamber of Commerce weather-wise day for Tullahoma, but more importantly, it's the annual observance in the United States of Veterans Day. For it was at the 11th minute of the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918 that fighting ceased in World War I. At that same time in 1921, the tradition started that would be originally known as Armistice Day. Through a series of changes in remembrance, President Eisenhower, of course a fellow veteran, signed a law in 1954 that officially changed the name to Veterans Day and renewed the date to that of November 11th. So let's move on from the history reminder, as I want my opening comments today to be that of current and future thoughts of veterans as we go around our lives in our local communities and with our families. And Veterans Day is always significant in Tullahoma as we remember the many veterans that have lived in our local communities and worked at Arnold Air Force Base, sharing their skills from active duty to continue to support the greatest military in the world. And we remember the 70,000 veterans who received training at Camp Forrest before representing the United States in World War II. We also remember those who served in the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and more recent Middle East conflicts. We also remember and support the thousands of soldiers and airmen representing the many units of Tennessee's Army and Air National Guards. We should also remember the many sons and daughters of our community who are also serving on active duty for the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, the Coast Guard, and our new Space Force. So what is a veteran? What comes to many people's minds when they think about veterans in general? Is it a soldier on the evening news getting a medal? Is it a white-haired guy or gal wearing a ball cap with the name of a ship or Vietnam on it? Or even a veteran walking through Publix or Walmart wearing a golf shirt with his or her service emblem? Okay, got it. These are all outward and visible signs of an inward and patriotic presence. Or is a young person in a military uniform at the airport returning from deployment? Or is it a disabled man or woman sitting in a wheelchair? Or unfortunately, is it a homeless or unemployed individual seeking assistance on our city streets? All these perceptions can be and are true from time to time, but we must also look at the attributes that mark veterans as a very special cadre of folks that make up part of our communities and interface within our country and society. Just off the cuff, veterans convey such qualities as courage, discipline, thoughtfulness, honor, integrity, and teamwork. We also see many veterans applying those qualities to our communities, our schools, our churches, veterans assistance organizations, and our families. While we certainly have many vets who have struggled in the past and many who are struggling today, we have a lot to offer and do so day to day. Over the past few years, since my retirement and currently living in our area of Tullahoma, I have observed a huge number of unselfish contributions of veterans, such as your sports coaches, full-time and substitute teachers, medical technicians, even doctors and nurses, assembly line workers and their supervisors, food service workers, heavy equipment operators, and many other occupations. Just as important are the many volunteer hours spent by veterans helping supporting other veterans. I'll share a couple of my activities that made an impression on me in my retired and veteran years, which enable me to share my skills with veterans in my community. I was fortunate enough to be a guardian helper for one of the honor flights that takes veterans to the Washington, D.C. area to see our nation's memorials of the various conflicts our nation has been involved in. World War II veterans were able to visit the World War II Memorial. And this valuable program has now been expanded to include Korean War veterans as space available. If you want a truly life-changing experience, volunteer or go along for an honor flight as a guardian. Also seek out those senior veterans who have not participated. Encourage them to go while they can still enjoy the experience. And I have to say, my wingman out here, Marine 1, was a fellow guardian, and Dennis Hyde, great to see you today. The other activity I've been honored to participate in is the annual Veterans Picnic hosted by Arnold Air Force Base. I would invite you also to join the Arnold Air Force Base leadership team led by Colonel Mizell and the Arnold Community Council, led by Dan Pierre, who's here today too, to help with this annual picnic for veterans from the Federal Veterans Administration hospitals in Murfreesboro and Nashville, and the Tennessee Veterans Nursing Home in Murfreesboro. The veteran attendees truly enjoy the trip away from their facilities and the opportunity to interface with our airmen and civilian volunteers. And just as important for all of us in our community at large is watching a new cadre of young veterans who are also seeking a sense of belonging and acceptance in our community. I also believe this new generation of veterans who have chosen to live and work in our community are also seeking a renewed camaraderie that they experienced on active duty. These new veterans also do not need to be forgotten. I guess my message is, in closing, that we're all very fortunate to have served our nation and have the qualities and skills to continue to be contributors to our jobs and our communities, and most importantly, to help and never forget our fellow veterans. I thank you all for letting me join you today. It's great to be amongst all these veteran friends and community leaders and great citizens and future leaders in our community. And I salute you all for your service, and quite simply, never forget.
Thank you, Colonel Egan. Now it is my pleasure to introduce United States Marine Corps veteran Curtis Heiss for an original musical performance titled "You Don't Have to Be Strong Anymore."
Colonel Egan, I have my polo shirt with my emblem on it. Must be the uniform of the day. Thank you to the band and the choir who played earlier. I'd be remiss of my fatherly duties if I didn't point out my teenage daughter over there, Allie, with the THS Chamber Singers. Before you start the music, Sid, I want to say just a thing about this song here. This is I wrote this a couple of years ago at a music therapy retreat for veterans that have suffered trauma. And it's with an organization called Music Therapy Retreats. And so they pair you up with a songwriter and teach you a little bit about how you can use music as a therapeutic tool to deal with that trauma. So if that's something you're interested in learning more about, you can go to musictherapyretreats.org. Go ahead, Sid.
Trained and you're taught to never retreat. Surrender's a word you will not repeat. But I'm telling you that your battle's been won. So lay down your armor and come home, my son. You defended our nation, you stood on the wall with your sisters and brothers, you gave it your all. And now your tour has ended, so come home from war. You don't have to be strong anymore. Fears and your doubts keep you away. You're afraid you're becoming something you hate. Listen, my friend, I've been in your boots. Reach out a hand, I'm right here for you. You defended our nation, you stood on the wall with your sisters and redemption is yours through God's only Son. You defended our nation, you stood on the wall with your sisters and brothers. You gave it your all. Now your tour has ended, so come home from war. You don't have to be strong anymore. You don't have to be strong anymore.
Thank you, Mr. Heiss. Now I'd like to please welcome back to the stage the THS Chamber Singers for a second musical performance. Please give one more round of applause for the Tullahoma High School Chamber Singers. Thank you, Mrs. Hines and singers. Your performances were fantastic today. We really appreciate it. It is now my pleasure to introduce our second speaker this morning, Colonel Jim Jolliffe, United States Air Force retired, was commissioned as a distinguished graduate of the University of Wyoming's ROTC program in 1984. Graduating with a degree in electrical engineering, his first assignment was as a satellite engineer and program manager at Electronic Systems Command. Colonel Jolliffe's subsequent assignments placed him as a test manager and branch chief at the National Radar Cross-Section Test Facility, deputy for Plans 46 Test Group, test investment resource manager at Headquarters Air Force Material Command, DoD Intelligence Systems Program Manager at Aeronautical Systems Center, Defense Cooperation and Armaments Program Manager, and later Deputy Executive Director for the Commander-in-Chief Headquarters, U.S. European Command, Commander 846th Test Squadron, Global Hawk IPT Lead, then PEO Executive Officer, then Vice Commander, Fighter Bomber Acquisition Wing at Aeronautical Systems Center. Then, when I met him, Commander of the 704th Test Group at Arnold Engineering Development Center. Colonel Jolliffe retired from the Air Force in November of 2010. He was employed from 2010 to April 2016 as Director of Business Development for AECOM, which is now Amentum's, who just merged with Jacobs here in Tullahoma, Warfighter Support Sector with the Mission Readiness Strategic Business Unit. In April 2016, Mr. Jolliffe started Jolliffe Consulting, providing business development support to large and small businesses, and additionally, he and his wife Liz own and operate Jolliffe Acres Woodworking and more. Mr. Jolliffe is an active member and past president of the Arnold Community Council, member of the Tullahoma Noon Rotary Club, previous board member of the Tennessee Valley Corridor, representing Congressman Scott Desjardins, and past chairman of the board of the Hands-On Science Center from 2018 to 2020, and currently the Development Committee Chair. He's also an amazing drummer and a pretty good golfer. So please welcome my friend Colonel Jim Jolliffe.
Thank you very much, and thanks to all you veterans for being here and all who support them. One more time for Curtis Heist. That was incredible. Lyle, thank you for that introduction. I think he added a few things on there that I didn't expect him to say, but some of you have seen my golf game and you know better than that. But I'm humbled to be here today to share some thoughts about United States veterans. U.S. military veterans are cornerstone of American society, and their importance extends beyond their service in uniform. Here are several ways in which the veterans contribute to the United States. Veterans are integral to the defense of the nation. They have served in war, peacekeeping missions, humanitarian efforts, and counterterrorism operations, ensuring the security of the United States and its allies. Their experiences and training have been crucial in shaping the military readiness and ability to respond to global threats. Closer to home, veterans supported weapons systems development risk reduction at our own AEDC. Their efforts provide military operators the best equipment as they secure liberty and freedom around the world. Veterans embody the ideals of sacrifice, patriotism, and duty to country. Their willingness to serve, often in dangerous and challenging environments, reflects a deep commitment to protecting the freedoms and values upon which the U.S. was founded. Veterans serve as role models for future generations, teaching the importance of service to the nation and contributing to a sense of national pride. Many veterans possess valuable leadership, teamwork, and problem-solving skills that are honed during their time in the military. These traits make veterans excellent leaders in civilian roles and contribute to the workforce. Their experience in managing resources, decision-making under pressure, and motivating teams is highly transferable and beneficial in both the private and public sectors. Veterans often serve as pillars of their communities, participating in local organizations, charities, and community service. We don't have to look outside our own zip code to find veterans serving across our community. Just a few examples, I'm sure I'll miss plenty. People like Alan Harris, Lynn Hauser, Bill Rutley, our first speaker, Pat Egan, Marty Nutter, R.J. Hayes, and Bill Boss are examples of local veterans who lead and support initiatives to help fellow veterans, support local schools, and volunteer with nonprofit organizations. The sense of camaraderie and responsibility forged during their military service drives their strong desire to give back to their communities. Once a part of a team, and that's what kept me in the Air Force for 26 years, they enjoy teamwork that comes with community support. Additionally, our Arnold Community Council is a combination of both business leaders and veterans who advocate to the Pentagon and to Congress on the importance of Arnold Air Force Base and its many geographically separated units across the United States. In addition to their community leadership and involvement, veterans contribute significantly to the U.S. economy, both throughout their work after military service and through the benefits they receive, which in turn stimulate local economies. Many veterans transition in civilian jobs, often in fields such as healthcare, government, technology, and manufacturing. In addition, veterans' spending and investments, as well as their engagement in veteran-owned businesses, help sustain economic growth. Veterans play a crucial role in supporting and shaping U.S. policy, especially in matters related to military affairs, healthcare, and veterans benefits. Through organizations like the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, and Disabled American Veterans, veterans advocate for better healthcare benefits and services for those who have served. Veterans serve as a symbol of the American spirit of resilience. Their sacrifices, whether physical, mental, or emotional, remind the nation of the high price of freedom and security. Many veterans face physical disability, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other challenges. But their stories of overcoming adversity inspire strength and perseverance for others. The importance of U.S. military veterans extends far beyond the years of service. They are foundational to the nation's security, economy, and culture. They represent the best of American ideals, having sacrificed their time and often much more for the greater good of the country. The continued care and recognition of veterans not only honors their sacrifice, but also strengthens the nation as a whole. Before I introduce our keynote speaker, I want to leave you all with a quote from our 40th President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, who said, "Some people live an entire lifetime and wonder if they made an impact in the world. A veteran doesn't have that problem." Okay, thank you very much. It's my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce today the keynote speaker, Colonel Grant Mizell. Colonel Mizell is the commander of Arnold Engineering Development Complex, headquartered at Arnold Air Force Base, Tennessee. The complex employs more than 3,000 people and comprises 95 aerospace test capabilities across 7 states, with facilities at Arnold Air Force Base in Middle Tennessee, with operating locations at Ames Research Center, Mountain View, and Edwards Air Force Base, California, Peterson Air Force Base, Colorado, the Federal Research Center at White Oak, Maryland, Holloman Air Force Base and White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and Hill Air Force Base in Utah. ADC offers a suite of test capabilities to simulate speed, temperature, pressure, and other parameters over a wide range to meet the needs of aerospace systems developers. The test facilities simulate flight from subsonic to hypersonic speeds at altitudes from sea level to space. Colonel Mizell was commissioned in 1999 through United States Air Force Academy, where he earned a bachelor's degree in operations research. He has 24 years of active duty experience from Little Rock Air Force Base and Ramstein Air Base as a combat pilot in C-130 aircraft, through test pilot school and as an exchange opportunity with the Royal Air Force, to 2 assignments on the air staff in the Pentagon. Colonel Mizell was also the commander of the 645th Aeronautical Systems Squadron, Big Safari, served as a professor and the military fellow to the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University, was the Joint Staff's liaison to the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, also known as DARPA, and was the chief of the Joint Operations Coordination Element, the primary liaison between the senior U.S. military officer in Korea and the Republic of Korea's chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Colonel Mizell is a command pilot with over 3,200 hours as an instructor, evaluator, and test pilot in both the United States Air Force and Royal Air Force, flying over 54 aircraft types, including the C-130E, H, and J models, HC, MC, and EC-130s, C-17, TriStar L-1011, Tucano, and RC-135. He accumulated more than 580 combat flight hours on 6 deployed tours in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi Freedom, in the Balkans, and in support of contingency operations in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Colonel Grant Mizell.
Well, thank you. Thanks, JJ. Now, while I get to look tall up here, what they didn't say to you was I don't get to represent the good looks of these 2 men, and certainly their speaking skill. So we'll go with that. Now, when I go off script, my PA team usually runs for the fire alarm to see if they can stop me in time, but we'll see what they do today. First of all, it just makes my heart swell to be able to join the incredible talent of the people who were up here on stage earlier, from Colonel Ligon and Colonel Jolliffe. Mr. Heiss, that was absolutely incredible. Thank you very much for doing that for us. And then of course, the young men and women we have here today from Tullahoma High School. It's just great to see you out here. Thanks for supporting. When many other people get a day off, you're out here doing service to your country. And of course, I want to make special comment for the young men who are down here in uniform, just starting their service. And I do have to comment on, man, those are some good-looking young people right there, and those are some good-looking uniforms. I'm a little bit jealous that the Marines get the good-looking uniforms. But speaking of uniforms, I'm honored to be here today looking at this incredibly distinguished crowd, looking at the people and recognizing those who have come before in wearing the uniform of the United States military. You know, there's nothing especially unique about uniforms, although I think the Space Force would beg to differ with me now. The uniforms change frequently as we go through the years, as we go through generations. The service dress I wear today is not the same service dress that many of you wore. And I recognize that one day I will take off this uniform, and it will change. And there will be some generation ahead of me that will take that choice to wear the uniform. And many in this room, you wore the uniform, and that choice may not have been yours, or yours alone. And while the uniform might not be unique, what this uniform represents is absolutely unique. The character and the values that we share with veterans from all eras and all services is something that can never be taken off. As a young cadet, more than a quarter of a century ago, I was taught the Air Force core values. Service before self, correction, integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. Other branches have variations on their core values, but those are my branch's core values. When I look at the eyes of all the veterans in this room, each of you here today, I see those exact core values reflected right back at me. Our collected values are what have defended our nation from enemies, foreign and domestic, for more than 2 centuries. Not a very long time in the eyes of our allies and of our foes. It's those core values that I learned long before joining the military, because they were internalized in my father and in my grandfather, 2 men who served their country in the Navy during Vietnam and the Army Air Corps during World War II. These 2 men answered their nation's call during wartime, but then returned home from faraway lands to start a family, build a business, invest in a community. Even when the uniform is put away, when it's moved to the back of the closet, when it's folded in a footlocker, dedicated to the ages, the values follow the veteran, from service life to civilian life. It's those values that drive us to continue searching for those who have not yet come home. It's those values that we teach our children and their children, which define who we are as a community and as a nation. Further, the military's core values convey to our civil servants, our contractors, and the community that serves the base. While today we express gratitude to those who have worn a uniform in the service of their country, I also want to thank those that have served our military, no matter what they were wearing while they did so. I ask you to not lose sight of these values. The values that each of you bring to those who love you, to those who see you daily: integrity, service, excellence. Know that there is a community of brothers and sisters in arms who stand with you. The weight you've taken on your shoulders, the weight of preserving freedom for future generations, is a heavy load to bear, and often doesn't feel lifted after that uniform comes off. After service, we still connect with our comrades who served, and we lean on them. And if needed, there are professionals within the Department of Veterans Affairs who can help. Our local Veterans of Foreign Wars and American Legion have members who you can lean on. That load need not be bared alone. There's a saying at Arnold Air Force Base: we stand on the shoulders of giants. Typically, we're referring to the scientists, engineers, and craft people who have worked there, but do not forget that that is an Air Force base. It is your Air Force base. The shoulders we stand on include every veteran who has sworn to support and defend and bear truth and faith and allegiance to the United States Constitution. Without their sacrifices and the sacrifices of their families, our world would not be the same. I want to thank this community for supporting our veterans with programs like this one today and the ones we put on every day. Today, we still have members in harm's way. The soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, guardians, and Coast Guardsmen serving today will all, God willing, come home. When they do, we have a solemn duty to support them. And if they don't come home, we have a solemn duty to remember them, remember their sacrifice, and to support their families, those they've left behind. Yesterday, the Daughters of the American Revolution dedicated a grave to Private Sanford Berry, a militiaman from the earliest days of our country, who settled and ultimately died in the Tullahoma area. So many veterans have gone before us. We are duty-bound not to forget their service, individually if possible, but certainly collectively. Veterans, when someone thanks you for your service, often we don't know what to say. I know some of us shy away from those moments. Veterans, I urge you to embrace those moments of recognition. Whether you processed pay records in peacetime, or bear the scars of shrapnel from wartime, you earned the thanks because you did your part to support and defend our country. You reflected our core values, and I'm confident you still do today. I see it in your eyes and in your actions. Colonel Jolliffe, thank you for suggesting ways we can serve, we can continue to serve in our community. I am honored to serve in this community alongside each of you and to build on the legacy that you set before us. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonels Jolliffe and Mizell, for your inspiring words. Really appreciate you joining us today for this program. So at this time, I'm going to invite Scouts Sadler Duncan, Evan Nalen, and Hob Schwer to join me on stage for a special flag folding ceremony. Gentlemen, if you will just set up right there. In 2013, I worked out at AEDC and I met an Air Force Chief Master Sergeant named Buddy McFadden. Chief had a servant leader's heart, I should say. Some of you may know him or remember him, and he had a patriotic fervor unlike anyone I had ever met. He wasn't always the easiest to get along with, but he and I became fast friends nonetheless. So Buddy recruited me and my two sons about a decade ago to do his favorite activity after retirement, and that was to go and speak to school children about the United States of America and teach them about our flag. Well, when Buddy was taken from us by cancer a few years ago, at his funeral, his wife asked me if I would carry on that tradition. And so I have recruited these three young men next to me here to do just that. And I want to share with you the ceremony that he used to have me and my sons do for him back then. Gentlemen, if you will begin unfolding the flag. For 247 years, the American flag has flown as the symbol of our nation's unity. Born on June 14, 1777, the Second Continental Congress determined that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternating between 7 red and 6 white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white, in a field of blue, representing a new constellation. The 13 horizontal stripes represent the 13 original colonies, while the stars represent the 50 states of the Union. The colors are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardiness and valor, white signifies purity and innocence, and blue represents vigilance, perseverance, honor, and justice. The American flag is a symbol of liberty that carries a message of freedom and is a source of pride and inspiration for millions of our citizens both at home and abroad. The sun never sets on our nation, nor on the flag we so proudly cherish. By displaying the flag and giving it a distinctive fold, we show her respect and express our gratitude to those individuals, many who are in this room, who fought and continue to fight for our freedom around the world. The first fold of our flag is a symbol of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The second fold is a symbol of our belief in eternal life. The third fold is made in honor and remembrance of the veterans departing our ranks who gave a portion of their lives for the defense of our country to attain peace throughout the world. The fourth fold represents our weaker nature, for as American citizens trusting, it is to Him we turn to in times of peace as well as in time of war for His divine guidance. The fifth fold is a tribute to our country, for in the words of Stephen Decatur, our country, in dealing with other countries, may she always be right, but she is still our country, right or wrong. The sixth fold is for where our hearts lie. It is with our heart that we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The seventh fold is a tribute to our armed forces, for it is through them that we protect our country and flag against all enemies, within or without the boundaries of our republic. The eighth fold is a tribute to the ones who have entered into the valley of the shadow of death, so that we may see the light of day. The ninth fold is a tribute to womanhood and to the mother, for whom the flag flies on Mother's Day. For it has been through their faith, love, devotion, and loyalty that the character of the men and women who have made this country great have been molded. The 10th fold is to the father, for he too has given his sons and daughters for the defense of our country since they were first born. The 11th fold in the eyes of a Hebrew citizen represent the lower portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon, and glorifies in their eyes the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12th fold in the eyes of a Christian citizen represents an emblem of eternity, and glorifies in their eyes God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. The 13th fold and tucking in completes the folding with the stars uppermost, reminding us of our nation's motto, "In God we trust." After the flag is completely folded and tucked in, it takes on the appearance of a cocked hat, ever reminding us of the soldiers who served under General George Washington and the sailors and Marines who served under Captain John Paul Jones, preserving for us the rights, privileges, and freedoms that we enjoy today. The flag of the United States represents who we are, no more and no less. It stands for the freedom that we all share and the pride and patriotism we feel for our country. We cherish its legacy as a beacon of hope to one and all, and long may it wave. Gentlemen, thank you. We're nearing the end of our ceremony, and I would like to at this time welcome United States Army veteran John Gray. He is going to be reading the final roll call for our local veterans that we lost this year, and a short musical performance of a song called Faithful Soldier. Thank you. Please welcome John Gray.
I wrote a piece for a friend of mine one time called "The Shoes Left Behind," after he lost his father, who was a veteran. You young people out there, what I'm getting ready to do is going to give you a list of people who have left their shoes behind. It's up to us to fill them and do the good deeds that these folks have done for our country and our community. Some of these names I don't know. I apologize if I can't pronounce every name perfectly, but I will try. This is the roll of those who have answered the final call this year from our county. Mark Allen McGuinn, Nels Peter Althrup, Joe Lindley, Dr. Jerry Kennedy, Lowell Samuel Towery, Marlon Wayne Bates, Edwin Ernest Matchett, Ray Stanley, Judd Matheny, Dr. Charles Webb Jr., Paul Audie Sirks, Johnny Miner, Carol William Lamb, Robert Joel Bryson, Johnny Boyd Champion, Hubert Raymond Fearing Jr., Edwin Gleason, George Crowell, Grover Cleveland Hutchinson III, Gerald Curtis Carter, John Paul Harton, Barry Francis Snyder, Eric Lee Sosby, Jerry Wayne Spry, Charles Raymond Howell, Wesley Melton, Jimmy Richardson, John Kelly, Kenneth Sarton, James Stern, Frank Casher, Jerry Tips, Robert Nanny, Darrell Rogers, Charles Carr, John Trankovich, James Puckett, Joel Baleen, Robert Stringert, Jesse Cox, Jeffrey Reedy, Joseph Madden II, Arliss Amos Davenport Jr., David Henvenier Sr., John Crabtree, Kenneth May, Thomas Maurer, Dan Collins, Larry Burt, Robert Black, Perry Godfrey, Connell Grubbs, Thomas Gillum, Robert Bear III, Marvin Short, Gary Robinson, Frank Christman, Jerry Dudley, James Taylor, Bryce Simmons, Robert Cole, David John Sanix, Jimmy Thomas Carter, Joseph Thompson Jr., Charles T. Young, Jack Bauer, Larry Johnson, Curtis Buford, and Lawrence Duke. Also, a dear friend of mine and a young man who lived in Tullahoma his whole young life, of the Pack family. Billy Pack, William Francis Pack Jr. also passed away this year in Chattanooga. In honor of these gentlemen and ladies, or the gentlemen and ladies who have passed away and gone to their final call, I present Faithful Soldier. Oh, when shall I see Jesus and reign with him above? And from that flowing fountain drink everlasting love. When shall I be delivered from this vain world of sin? And with my blessed Savior drink endless pleasures in. Now I am but a soldier, my captain's gone before. He has given me my orders and bid ye ne'er give o'er. His promises are faithful, a righteous crown he'll give, and all his valiant soldiers eternally shall live. Whene'er you meet with troubles and trials on the way, then cast your cares on Jesus and don't forget to pray. Gird on the gospel armor of hope and faith and love. And when the combat's ended, He'll take you home above. Thank you.
Thank you. Please be seated. And thank you, Mr. Gray, for reading those names. To close out our program today, I would like to welcome to the stage our City Administrator, Mr. Jason Quick, for our closing remarks.
So I just want to say, Colonel Jolliffe, I told Pat that you were taller than him by a hair.
Yeah, there you go.
And he said it's because you didn't get a haircut and he did. So anyway, so I want to say thank you to everybody for being here today. Throughout my role here as City Administrator, I have an awful lot of opportunities to go out and see people in different parts of the county and definitely different parts of the state. And they always say, tell me about Tullahoma. And as some people have coined the phrase, Tullahoma unique as its name. So when you think about Tullahoma, you think about the past, which we've heard from today, the present, which we've heard from today, and the future, which we've heard from today. I go back and I think about, how did I get to Tullahoma? And it all revolves around the military. My grandfather served at Camp Forrest, and I don't know what led him to stay, but he did stay, and then later worked out at Arnold Air Force Base. So if you think about Tullahoma, you can't think of Tullahoma without Camp Forrest. I remember he would take me out on drives many times, and we'd hit Waldendorf Highway, and he would point over and he would say, hey, that's where the barracks were, that's where this was, and that's where that was. And of course, I'm like, well, let's go in there and let's go look around. And we couldn't do that, but we would stop on the side of the road. And he would just tell me stories about things that he had seen, he had done while he was there. And my grandfather was a very humble, simple man from my perspective. But the pride he showed in his time here at Camp Forrest is something I'll never forget. I think about the machinists and others that worked out with him at the base, and they also too were veterans, and they would talk about their time at Camp Forrest or their time serving the military. And so when you think about Tullahoma, you can't help but think about Camp Forrest. Obviously, you think about Arnold Air Force Base. There's so many great men, great women that have come through Tullahoma serving at that base. And I am sure that if I were to ask for a show of hands right now to say, do you have a connection to Arnold Air Force Base? Does your family have a connection? I am sure that that tree would spread and go forever. So you think about Arnold, then we also think about AEDC. And we think about all that they're doing that nobody knows, by the way. I've had many people tell me, hey, what do they do at AEDC? I'm like, I don't know. It's top secret. They can't tell us, but I'm sure it's pretty good. We put a lot of money in there. We've got $3.5 billion coming for the supersonic. So I'm sure we're doing some great stuff, but we always talk about that. But we talk about, again, the past, the present, and the future. And so I look out here and I look at some of my friends that have served, and I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for what you've done for this city and what you've done for its citizens. But you will never see me get up in front of an audience, especially when high school students are sitting here, where I don't brag on them. I had the privilege and the joy to be their principal, many of them, for 3 years. And I can tell you this, what makes Tullahoma unique, all those things I've mentioned, but we have some of the most outstanding young men and women, and I've seen them at all different levels, at all different, in different states, but I could tell you that we have some of the greatest young people that Tullahoma is very fortunate about. So whenever I would go and brag, and when you're a principal, you've got to be careful on who you brag about because you can't leave anybody out. But I will tell you that I always bragged on 2 units of the high school. JROTC, number 1. I don't see Colonel Johnson. I know he's got to be here somewhere. That JROTC unit is incredible, and the impact it has on the lives of its cadets is something that I wish you could see. And I can remember many a time when I would have perhaps a wayward student who couldn't find himself, maybe didn't have support at home or elsewhere that he needed. I would always try to seek out Colonel Johnson and say, I need you to see this young man. I need you to talk to this young man. And then the next thing you know, 4 years later, 3 years later, wow. It's incredible to see the impact they have. Not only are those cadets likely to be children of veterans and whatnot, but many of them aren't. But this is a great on-ramp for them to become outstanding future leaders. Number 2, the band. I've always praised our band. You will not find a more disciplined, a more better group of kids who seek excellence. They get that from their leadership. Their band directors do an excellent job of never letting them settle for anything less than the best. And they take that on with them, not only through their music career in high school and college, but they take that on through life. And I just want to say thank you to Justin Scott, to Lisa Burden. I thank you for what you've done, the impact that this band program has had prior to you being here, obviously, but since you've been here has been truly incredible. Don't forget about our chamber singers. I can't be more proud of them than that. This is what makes Tullahoma. But one of the things that also makes Tullahoma are the veteran families. How many families are here as a result, as I talked about, because your relative somehow was a veteran? But if you look at all of the things, and I think that Colonel Egan did a great job, and JJ as well, talking about what they are, who they are in our community. That is who Tullahoma is now. That's who we were in the past, and that's definitely who we're going to be in the future. And so this is what makes Tullahoma very, very unique. But I've got to say this, if you are the spouse of a veteran, would you please stand? Now, I'm not sure who wrote the 3 bios for our speakers, but I did not hear a mention of a wife. I know I already told Pat, and Pat went, we know, ladies, we know the sacrifices you have made. I think about when I hear Pat and I hear JJ, where all they've been all over the country. Well, there was somebody with them the whole way, and there was somebody there supporting them and holding them up. And I just want to say, ladies, Thank you for doing that. So, in closing, I thought about this on the drive-in this morning. They say today's Veterans Day, right? In Tullahoma, every day is Veterans Day. Every day is Veterans Day. The city of Tullahoma would not be who it is, and we would not be who we're going to be if it weren't for the veterans. I would like to say thank you to our three speakers. Amazing stuff. Colonel Mizell, we're looking forward to your command here. Very excited to see what we can do with you as a city as far as collaborating and supporting you as much as we can. I'd like to say thank you to Lyle for putting this together, and for Greg Gressel and for South Jackson Performing Arts Center. Thank you, sir, for all of the support that you give us. At this time, I would ask that you please stand. Thank you for being here. You're dismissed.